3-2-1. Houston football coach Willie Fritz with us, 365 Sports in Vegas, Big 12 Media Days. Let's start with life. The city of Houston was hammered and continues to have a lot of problems with the hurricane that blew through. You guys were there during that time. It seemed like there's still a lot of work to be done.
Yeah, it was a lot more devastating than we thought it was going to be. At least me. I lived in New Orleans the last 8 years, and we had something like that pop up about every 4 months, it seemed like. But, the work crews are out. They've done a great job of restoring power. I think I've got 4 different houses with my kids and my wife and I. I think the longest anybody was out of power was maybe 20 hours. So they've done a great job of getting after it.
Glad you're here. Glad you made it.
You bet.
Coach, here you are, Las Vegas, Big 12 Media Days. It's been, you've coached for a long time. What is this stage like
it's
for
a little
you
different than my first media day at the library at Navarro Community College.
Good Corsicana.
Seriously was. When you said that, I started thinking, where was the first place that I had a media day at? It was at Corsicana, the Navarro Library, central location for everybody. But yeah, it's been really neat. I think it was a great idea by the conference commissioner to have it here. I'm sure none of you are complaining about it.
No.
And there's a lot of things to do here. In town, I went to the Mob Museum yesterday.
Oh,
it was awesome. Did you go?
Hey, okay, we love it. We went last night just to the Speakeasy because we were here in February, and the Speakeasy, except last night, has a bartender that will make you old-fashioned drinks and give you a history lesson about it. We love the museum. It's great.
It was a lot of fun, and I wanted to walk around, but it was a little too hot to walk around. But I think the conference commissioner did a great job of having it here, and we got a lot of attention throughout the country. I just talked to somebody from Miami, Florida, which is not prime Big 12 territory. So this is a great event, great conference. I think the sky's the limit at the University of Houston. I think the same thing for the Big 12.
Who are maybe the coaches in the league that you have the best relationships with? Do you have a history with many of the guys?
I know all of them a little bit, but not too many of them. I've kind of had a different path, I guess, with being a head coach for so long and
right.
Division II and 1AA and those kind of things. But it's really a great group of guys. We had meetings back in May out in Arizona, and I got to know some of the guys a little bit better, and I've just been very impressed with, how they conduct themselves and fun guys to be around. And I've been in some different conferences, and that's not always the case.
You, when you took over the job at Houston, if you would have had we need to get this done to-do list, how much of that have you been able to get done?
Everything's different every job that you take over, and really there's a drastic difference between Tulane and University of Houston. Tulane had 7,000 students. We've got 48,000 students. New Orleans is really not that big of a city. We're in a metropolitan area of about 7.3 million people there at Houston. I had to go nationwide to recruit because of our academic standards. So I've really used my past, my experience with getting my support staff, going how I want them to do things. Academically, I enrolled, advised, scheduled student athletes for many years, and I got a way of doing things academically. I taped ankles for a few years. I had a way of doing things with athletic trainers, and I was a strength coach for 14 years. I got a way of doing things there. So just getting everybody on board with how I like to do things. And I'm not a big-time micromanager, but there are some things that are non-negotiable in all those different areas. So I think you just got to adapt to the school that you're at. Houston's a lot different than Tulane. Tulane was a lot different than Georgia Southern. Georgia Southern, much different than Sam Houston State. So you just got to adapt to your surroundings.
You have a quarterback that's a veteran in Donovan Smith coming back. That's a big thing, especially in a first year at a program, to step into somebody who's played a lot. Now, obviously, everybody can get better. He's had a bit of problems with turnovers in the past, but he's a dynamic athlete that if he ever fixes that 15% of his game that's wrong is going to surprise some people. How have you seen him grow over just the couple months that you've been in Houston?
I've been very, very impressed with him. He was not able to go through spring football. He had labrum surgery in early January. So he was standing back there with me while the offense was going, and I'd look at the script, and he was utilizing the sideline to helmet communication. And we kind of talked through every single play, and just his intelligence and his leadership. And you're right, he's one of those rare athletes who's a true dual threat. Usually guys do one thing better than the other. Right? They either run better, pass better, whatever. But he's 6'5", 6'6", he's 235. He's good speed, good movement. I think he throws an excellent ball. I call it a 1-ball, 2-ball, 3-ball. He can do all three of them, which a lot of quarterbacks can't do. And he's really intelligent. He's a football guy. His dad's the running back coach for the Indianapolis Colts, right? And his dad was coaching here at UNLV. He went to Gorman High School here in town. So I'm very excited about watching him this season and in the offense that we're going to be running with him.
When you take over a program, which you've done a lot of that, how much of it is you learning the players and the players learning you at least the first 6 months or so?
It's very, very important. I told the guys I didn't watch any tape from the University of Houston for about 3 or 4 months. I didn't want to skew my vision of what the guy could or couldn't do, and I told him, I'm going to treat you the way you show me I should treat you. You're a good kid. I'm going to think you're a good kid. I'm not going to worry about what happened in the past. You're doing things wrong. It tells me you do things wrong. So I've had very few problems and issues. They've embraced change. I've done this a few times, and it's just being open and honest. Everybody respects that. Certainly the players do.
You mentioned the helmet communication. We were talking about Donovan a second ago. How much of a game changer is that, or do we overvalue that? Where do you see that?
Well, I think we ought to just switch all the rules and go to NFL. If that's what we're trying to do. I don't know, But I think it's interesting. I don't know how. Like defensively, you're gonna have one guy out there with the helmet on, and we experimented with this all spring, and we're doing it now. With football school, where the offense is doing it separately from the defense, obviously. But you still got to get everybody lined up. You're still gonna have to have signaling from the sideline. This guy, hopefully we're playing at home in front of 45,000 people. And it's real loud. This guy's gonna have a hard time communicating to the left corner and also to the right corner. So defensively, I think it's going to help that guy maybe for quick adjustments that you need to make they get into a certain formation or splits and kind of gives you keys to what's going on. Offensively, I think it's going to be excellent with the coach from the sideline talking to the quarterback up until 15 seconds remain on the play clock and giving him some tips and but that's one thing the defense doesn't. An old defensive coach, we're going to move around a little bit. I think people are going to move around a little bit later than they did in the past. And maybe give a look a little bit later. So this coach is giving him this information, and then all of a sudden it's not really the information that he gave him. And after 15. When there's 15 seconds left, it's crap. I told him the wrong thing. So it'll be interesting. The quarterback still needs to be in charge and understands fronts and coverages and blitz patterns and all those different things.
You mentioned the size of the city of Houston, or at least that area, and it's probably the best recruiting area in the country. I mean, Miami in that area, Dallas,
right there in the conversation.
You get everything. You get every position. But you can still find what you need elsewhere. But what's it like to have that in your backyard?
Oh, it's awesome. I did not get on a plane during December and January. I just drove every place I needed to go to recruit. And, we're going to recruit some in Louisiana as well, because I was there for 8 years and know a lot of people in the state. But I think the kids seem to have less problems, seem to be a little happier when they're fairly close to home. The parents are able to come watch them play easily. You can go home and like what happened with us just the last couple days.
Yeah.
I told kids on Sunday, stay home. Don't come back. And they're all close. We didn't have guys flying all over the place to go home. So I think it's a huge advantage for us. And then my first day on the job, I went out and recruited a couple of high schools that were in the state playoffs, and it was good to be back home. There's nothing like Texas high school football.
Willie Fritz, head coach at Houston, with us on 365 Sports.
So if your high school recruiting doesn't have to go that far, then the transfer portals can just kind of fall where it may, because you guys might need a linebacker or a wide receiver or whatever. Right. Then at that point, when they're trying to find a place where they can play, it maybe doesn't matter as much where they're from, right?
That part probably doesn't, but something that helped us at Tulane was I had a lot of kids from New Orleans who thought the grass was greener someplace else, and they found out it was green. They came back home to New Orleans and played for us. I mean, some big schools. They wanted to. Quite a few of them lived at home, and they just came back. So I think we're going to have that happen as well with Houston kids that maybe go someplace else and want to come back home. It happened in New Orleans. I'm sure it'll happen at Houston as well.
I was just thinking you got the best of both worlds. You got, obviously, Houston arguably the best concentration. Then Louisiana, I mean, for a long time probably slept on in terms of the talent, but now I think people are well aware of, like, per capita, it might be the best state in the country when it comes to overall, just the amount of talent.
I think it was pretty close to number one with per capita NFL, producing NFL players. One of the things, too, is the difference between the states is the coaching. They don't have – you'll go to a school in Louisiana, they might have 3 coaches for the varsity. You'll go to a school in Houston, and they might have 3 DB coaches.
Right, right.
So
absolutely.
So that part is a lot different, and that's good and bad in some regards.
Go ahead.
The Big 12. Obviously, you're focused on your team, but I'm sure you're also looking ahead. What are your thoughts on this league? What do you see? What stands out stylistically that's maybe unique or just more of kind of the flavor in this league?
It's a very well-coached league. I'm not just saying it because I'm on the radio. I just have always admired the coaches I've gone against, some of them in different. Neil Brown, he was at Troy when I was at Georgia Southern. Who else? I used to go over Coach Aranda and visit LSU quite frequently. Coach Orgeron's son coached for me at Tulane. So I'd go over there a bunch and watch them, and just a lot of, I think tough, hard-nosed football, probably a little more running. I haven't done a study on it, but I think they might run the ball a little bit more in this conference than maybe some of the others. You guys would probably know better.
Yeah, it used to be the opposite.
Yeah,
that used to be known for just free, like throw it
they
out.
Don't play defense. They just throw it around 60 times a game. Yeah, it's kind of reverted back a little bit.
No, you're right. Great league, though.
Chris Pesman's no longer the AD, and there's that spine of Couture and then Chris, and then, of course, you were hired by that, and there's a change in the administration. He hired you. I know the entire administration did. Is that any kind of a wobble at all for you?
No, I got a lot of respect for Chris, and and he did a great job at University of Houston. But our president has a vision of what University of Houston can be, and she's really built this school up. I've been in and around the city of Houston, for decades, and I didn't realize it until I took the job. University of Houston's a Tier 1 academic institution. She's done a great job of changing the profile of the institution academically. We've got 8,000 kids living on campus. 30 years ago, Houston might have had 500 kids living on campus. So, we feel like the sky's the limit, and I'm sure she'll find somebody that's going to help us with this transition in the Big 12.
How do you, approach this season in terms of outside expectations or outside expectations? Media polls, where you guys are picked. You guys are picked towards the bottom. Just in terms of your players and what you want to see this year, what's kind of the messaging as far as year one and Houston football and Willie Fritz taking over and what that's going to look like?
Well, I want to win them all. I mean, and I want players who want to win them all too. But, it really doesn't matter where they have you picked before the season. This is going to be my 33rd year as a head football coach, and I've been picked last and finished first. I've been picked first and finished third. Stuff like that. So it doesn't matter. It just matters, where you're at the end of the year. I feel like we've got some ability. I really do. We got some size. I thought we did. There was only, I think, 5 high school kids that were committed when I took the job, and signing day was like 10 days away. So I had to jump in the portal. I thought we got some good kids from the portal. So, I've had the slogan, since I was at Blinn. We talk an awful lot about 1-0. Now everybody says 1-0,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
I tell our guys, I was saying it back in the 90s, all right?
Yeah.
But, it's just how you want to be consistent every single day in what you're doing. And, and being the best version of yourself every single day. And, the teams that are consistent are the ones who win a bunch of ball games.
I love the fact you brought up Navarro and then Blinn, because I covered Tyler for the longest of time.
Did you?
Tyler Junior College.
With Delton Wright? Or
Delton Wright initially.
Dale Carr?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And boy, that was a hell of a league.
Yes.
It's changed a lot because of just the way things have changed. But boy, there were some really unbelievable football teams during that time. Thanks for your time. Good luck.
Thank you all.
Appreciate it, Willie.
You betcha.
Willie
Go
Fritz,
Cougs.
head football coach at Houston, with us. Big 12 Media Days in Vegas on 365 Sports.